Intro. What's scarier than a powerful villain? One that almost wins. These are the anime antagonists who came within inches of total victory, rewriting fate, breaking heroes, and twisting the world to their will until something snapped. Let's dive into 6 villains who nearly ended everything and made us believe they could. Subscribe to Nonagon, where every list hits hard. Starting off at number 6, we have Muzan Kibutsuji, the original demon and apex predator of Demon Slayer. From the moment he appears, Muzan exudes cold, calculated control. He's not a rampaging monster. He's a strategist, hiding in plain sight, manipulating centuries of bloodlines, demon ranks, and even the flow of history itself. Muzan isn't just trying to survive, he's trying to evolve. His endgame? To become the perfect immortal being. Sunlight, the last remaining threat to his existence, is just another problem to be solved. And he nearly does it. In the Infinity Castle arc, Muzan unleashes everything. His speed eclipses what the Hashira have ever faced. He adapts instantly, uses his body like a hive of deadly weapons, and heals from attacks faster than they land. But what really pushes him close to victory is timing. He understands that all he needs is for the night to last long enough. Every second is a countdown to domination. The death toll climbs. Key characters fall. And when he absorbs the medicine meant to weaken him, Muzan evolves again. Grotesque, immense, unstoppable. His body balloons into a form that defies logic. But even then, it's not mindless rage. He calculates, adapts, and tries to escape into a child to restart his cycle. The horror? He almost pulls it off. Victory is inches away, and that's what makes Muzan terrifying. He doesn't fall because he was outmatched. He falls because humanity refused to yield. His defeat is a miracle of resilience, not strength, and the cost is everything. For a creature that walked through history unchallenged for over 1,000 years, it's almost cruel how close he came. One more minute of night, and Demon Slayer would have ended in silence. Coming up next, a villain whose mind games rewired an entire series, and very nearly rewrote the definition of justice. At number 5, we have Light Yagami, the boy genius turned self-proclaimed god in Death Note. When Light finds the Death Note, he doesn't hesitate. No fear, no doubt, just calculation. From the moment he writes that first name, he begins a descent into something more than human. Over the next 37 episodes, we don't just watch him evade capture. We watch him build an empire of fear, faith, and false justice, and nearly win everything. Light doesn't need superpowers in the traditional sense. His mind is the battlefield. Every move he makes is a chess game layered with misdirection, manipulation, and moral corrosion. He fools his own father, misleads the police force, and even orchestrates his own loss of memory just to create a deeper alibi. And it works. For a terrifying stretch of time, Light actually becomes a detective hunting himself, and wins. The most disturbing part? The world begins to bend toward his vision. Hero worship spreads, crime plummets. People begin to believe that divine judgment is real, that Kira is justice. This isn't just control through fear, it's control through belief. Light doesn't just manipulate the system, he replaces it. By the time Nier and the final investigation team close in, Light's hold is ironclad. Even then, it takes a gamble, a double betrayal, and one final perfectly timed trap to expose him. And even in that last moment, as his mask cracks, Light still tries to talk his way out. Eyes wild, voice trembling, but mind still working. What makes Light one of the most dangerous villains in anime is simple. He didn't almost win through brute force. He almost won because he was right there in front of everyone, hiding behind a smile and a cause. A few seconds slower. A single mistake left unnoticed, and Kira would have rewritten morality itself. Next, we shift from a god complex to a godlike force, one that nearly broke reality itself. Coming in at number 4 is Father, the architect of annihilation in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Born from a flask in the ancient kingdom of Xerxes, Father begins his journey not as a being of malice, but as a shadow of ambition, a homunculus craving freedom. But that thirst mutates into something darker, the desire to become perfect. Over centuries, Father manipulates entire nations, engineers, wars, and births 7 homunculi to enact his vision, all for one singular goal, to transcend the limitations of God. The night of the promised day is his masterpiece. As the eclipse begins, Father activates the nationwide transmutation circle, an alchemic network powered by millions of lives. Cities go dark, soldiers collapse, screams fill the air, and for a moment, the world stops. Father pierces the gate of truth and rips God into himself. That's not hyperbole. He literally absorbs the metaphysical concept of God, standing before creation itself and claiming dominion. In that instant, Father wins. He becomes a being of limitless power, immune to the laws of physics and alchemy alike. Reality bends, attacks disintegrate. The strongest characters, Mustang, Scar, Hohenheim, the Elrics, become ants beneath his gaze. It's not a fight anymore. It's survival against inevitability. And yet, cracks form. Not in his body, but in his soul. The very thing he sought to destroy, human will, turns against him. Hohenheim's counter-circle, the sacrifices of the people, and the sheer persistence of Edward's resolve begin to chip away at his illusion of control. Ultimately, Father's downfall isn't because he was outsmarted or overpowered. It's because, even with godhood in his grasp, he never understood what made humans endure. He tried to erase weakness and instead erased the anchor that made power meaningful. He almost erased the boundary between man and God. Almost. But as the light fades, all that remains is a homunculus begging a silent gate for purpose, and receiving none. Up next, a villain with no armies, no powers, just words sharp enough to slice through sanity itself. At number 3, we descend into psychological terror with Johann Liebert, the human void at the heart of Monster. Johann doesn't need magic, power-ups, or armies. He's just a person. But that's what makes him so terrifying. He walks through the world with a smile that masks nothing, because there's nothing behind it. No grand ideology, no tragic necessity, just the whispering promise that everything is meaningless, and he can prove it. From the moment he's saved by Dr. Tenma as a child, Johann begins orchestrating a quiet apocalypse. He infiltrates families, destroys lives, and triggers massacres, not for gain, but to see what happens when the human soul is pushed to its limit. His victims aren't chosen by chance. They're experiments. He reads people like books, finds their worst fear, deepest guilt, or darkest desire, and lights a match. Parents turn on children. Lovers commit murder. Entire communities collapse into paranoia. Johann never lifts a weapon. He just watches. And in every scene he dominates, you feel it. The camera slows, the sound narrows, the tension coils like a serpent behind his eyes. At one point, he engineers a plan to become the last man standing, erasing his identity, removing every trace of himself, and walking into legend as a ghost. He doesn't want to rule. He wants to disappear. And yet, people follow him. Children mimic him. Cults form around his absence. That's how close he gets to victory. Not by conquering a nation, but by making emptiness contagious. Even when he's shot and bleeding, Johann controls the narrative. He makes Tenma, the man who saved him, choose again. Life or death, mercy or justice. Johann's end isn't a defeat, it's a question mark. One final manipulation that lingers like a haunting breath. What makes Johann's near victory so disturbing isn't that he almost destroyed the world. It's that he almost convinced it to destroy itself. Coming up, a villain whose war was so vast, it rewrote centuries of fate. And for a moment, he was the last one standing. Taking the number 2 spot is the ghost of the Uchiha Madara, the man who turned war itself into a weapon of ideology in Naruto Shippuden. Long thought dead, Madara's return during the 4th Great Ninja War isn't just a twist, it's a seismic event. When he walks onto the battlefield alone, facing an army of thousands, he doesn't talk, he demonstrates. In minutes, the terrain is drenched in fire, bodies fly, and shinobi crumble under the sheer pressure of his chakra. He dances through the battlefield like death incarnate, and the world realizes, this is not a man, this is a calamity. But Madara didn't come back just to flex. He came to finish the plan he started decades earlier, the Eye of the Moon Project. His goal? Ensnare the entire planet in an illusion, a dream world where no one suffers, no one dies, and no one chooses. Peace, at the cost of reality itself, and he almost pulls it off. After absorbing the power of the 10 tails, Madara becomes the Sage of 6 Paths reincarnate. Immortal, unstoppable, omniscient. The sky darkens, mountains break. He activates the infinite Tsukuyomi, and in a single instant, every major character is caught in the web of his illusion. Eyes wide, dreams unfolding. He wins. For a heartbeat, Madara achieves what no other villain in the series could: total, global victory. But it doesn't last. Not because of a weakness, but because he himself was manipulated. The seeds he planted were twisted by Black Zetsu, and his body is hijacked by Kaguya, the original progenitor of chakra. Madara doesn't fall in battle. He's erased by a deeper deception, a pawn in a cycle older than himself. Still, that moment, Imas, when the world stared into a red moon and surrendered, was his. Madara didn't almost win by overpowering his enemies. He redefined the concept of battle entirely. Shinobi wars, tailed beasts, nations, all just steps in a centuries-long endgame. And if not for a betrayal from within, we'd all still be dreaming. Next up, the most beautifully horrifying victory in anime history, where the villain does win. And that's what breaks us. And at number 1, we arrive at the most haunting near victory, or perhaps the most complete victory masquerading as a tragedy: Griffith, the White Hawk of Berserk. Griffith doesn't storm castles or rain fire from the sky. He seduces fate with a smile. At the start of Berserk, he's a noble in rags, a charismatic leader who turns a band of mercenaries into legend. Kingdoms fall before him. Royalty bends the knee. But his goal isn't conquest, it's transcendence. His dream is so pure, so unshakable, that every life, friend or foe, becomes a tool to achieve it. Then, it breaks. Tortured, maimed, discarded by the very kingdom he sought to claim, Griffith loses everything. But that's not the end. It's the pivot. When he's offered the chance to sacrifice his comrades to become one of the God Hand, he doesn't hesitate. The eclipse happens, and the world changes forever. The Band of the Hawk, loyal to the end, is massacred in a feast of flesh and prophecy. Guts and Casca, his closest allies, are left broken beyond recognition. Griffith emerges reborn as Femto, a dark messiah draped in destiny. But here's the twist. He doesn't just almost win. He does. Griffith gets everything he dreamed of: a kingdom, divinity, worship, peace. The world wants him. He becomes a savior in the eyes of the masses, while only a few know the blood that built his throne. Why is he number 1? Because no villain has ever won so completely, while leaving such irreversible scars. Guts' life is shattered. The gods are silent. And Griffith? Untouchable. The horror of Griffith isn't just what he did, it's that we understand why he did it. He saw the cruel machinery of fate and chose to become the hand that turns the wheel. He didn't just almost win, he broke the board and became the game. And that's our list. 6 villains who stood on the edge of victory and nearly remade the world. From Muzan to Griffith, they didn't just fight the heroes, they almost won. Which anime villain do you think got closest to total domination? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe to Nonagon for more epic anime breakdowns.